Before we start the breakdown, I want to hear from you Panther fans. Who would you rather? Sam Darnold or Justin Fields? Just out of curiosity, I wanna hear what you Panther fans think. But what's crack-a-lackin'? It's your boy Brushbo. Just in case you did not know, so we're gonna be taking a deep dive, a breakdown of the Carolina Panthers. We're gonna look at the offense, the defense, give you my projected starters, then of course a prediction for the 2021 NFL season at the end of the video. So go ahead, hit the thumbs up if you at least appreciate the content. It's always much appreciated, much obliged, and indulge in that nice, sensual, intimate football discourse in the comment section below. Did my voice crack? I don't know. You let me know. But let's go ahead, get into the nitty-gritty. Let's look at the offense. This is a Joe Brady offense, man. But it didn't look like the 2019 Bayou Tigers offense last season. It looked more like the 2018 New Orleans Saints, which, I mean, Joe Brady was a coach on that squad, so that doesn't surprise me too much. But for all intents and purposes, I do expect this squad to run more RPOs, more quick passes, and more 11 personnel with Sam Darnold at quarterback. Me personally, I'm going to answer that question. I would have rather sit on that pick and got Justin Fields, but you have Sam Darnold. You invested in again in Sam Darnold. I think Sam Darnold could succeed in this offense. The guy's got a cannon, and let's keep in mind, anything Adam Gase touches, he ruins. I'm a Dolphins fan. I know it firsthand and foremost, like Ryan Tannehill. Look at him with Tennessee. He's arguably a top 10 to 12 quarterback in the league. Just going to say that. So, yeah, I expect to see a lot of 11 personnel. I think that's a big reason why they brought in David Moore from the Seahawks, why they went up. They traded up and drafted Terrence Marshall Jr. But they got bangers at receiver, DJ Moore, a guy that you could put anywhere. This guy he's great vertically, and he's great after the catch. Robbie Anderson, another vertical target, and Robbie Anderson had a lot of great things to say about how more comfortable Sam Darnold looks compared to how he looked in New York. So, hey, that's great. Obviously, you got Christian McCaffrey there, probably the best receiving back in all of football. And yeah, dude, like Sam Darnold, I think he's poised to succeed. Really, probably the down thing is this offensive line. It's not good. This is a very bad offensive line. Outside of Taylor Moton, who is arguably one of the best tackles in the league. This guy has been very good since drafted. But there's literally this offensive line is not great. Matt Paredes had the worst season of his career when he first became a Panther, and it doesn't look like he's gonna regain that form he was in Denver. I think that's why they bring in like a David Moore, who's probably gonna be on the practice squad initially, but might be eventual replacement for Paredes in the future. But yeah, really, like they drafted Brady Christensen, but even then, like at least from Matt Rule, it sounded like Brady Christensen is not gonna have a starter role this season. I didn't really find anything that verifies will he be playing guard or tackle, but it sounds like he will not have a starter role this season. And Matt Rule, he expects Cameron Ervin, for all intents and purposes, to be the starter. He had a lot of good things to say about Ervin. That's great. I think it's a good depth piece, replacement starter. So it sounds like Greg Little will be challenging him in camp for that position. You could also make a case for Dennis Daly, but he's probably going to be trying to fight for the left guard or one of the guard positions. I think Pat Elflein, while yes, people will point out he looked more comfortable at guard last season in New York, it still wasn't great. He had his best year at center, and it was his rookie year for the Vikings. He's just not when they first signed him, it was one of the biggest letdowns. I was just like, why? Then you have John Miller on the other side. He's not great. Another replacement level starter on the roster. They drafted Deontay Brown, who I'm kind of intrigued about. I think eventually he will take one of the guard spots, if not this year, next year. But it's not a good line. Literally, Moton's probably easily the best player on this offensive line with a bunch of question marks everywhere. Can Matt Paredes regain that Denver form? And then then it's like the rest of the line. It's like, will they not suck next year? So hopefully they do a good enough job to where Sam Darnold's not seeing ghosts. Yeah. But I'm kind of excited about the tight end position. They got probably the best run blocking tight end in last year's draft in Tommy Tremble. I think he ends up probably seeing a lot of time because you could use him in a variety of different spots. You could use him as kind of like this H-back as well. They brought in Dan Arnold, Ian Thomas obviously being there, never really emerging. But I really think Tremble carves out a role in this offense. I think they have a idea, especially considering Joe Brady's offensive coordinator. I think they have a plan of how they're going to use him. I also really liked them picking up Chuba Hubbard. I think he could succeed very much with this squad. I don't think we're necessarily going to see like a 2019 revival of the LSU Tigers in terms of offense, but I do think we will see a lot more in terms of them bringing out, rather than 2 tight end sets, more 3 wide receiver sets. At least that's what them bringing in David Moore says to me. They also have they have Shee Smith. I don't know if he makes the roster. I mean, really, it's kind of up for grabs who's like the 5th receiver on the squad, but Smith is really just a slot-only type of prospect. So we'll find out, man. How will Sam Darnold do in this offense? The big question mark being that offensive line. But defense, I'm kind of giddy about, like, because I'm a big fan of Phil Snow, dating back to his time in at Baylor. I'm a big fan of him, and I think his offense for the most part this defense looked pretty college-like. They kind of like, at times they would sit back in zone. They ran a lot of 3 safety sets. I think we will start to see a bit more of an identity to this squad. Like, I still think it's going to be like, obviously it's going to be like a base 4-3, but I think we're going to see, yes, it'll still be like this cover 3 press, but I think he will begin to sprinkle in more of that man coverage. Like last year, this was one of the like least defenses to run man coverage in all of football. And I think Troy Pride Jr. and J.C. Horn, they're more man corners anyway. But that's not to say they can't succeed in a cover 3. I mean, if anything, especially with J.C. Horn, like I didn't think he'd be a good like zone coverage corner. I was kind of skeptical of the fit, but I also believe in Phil Snow. He's better at adapting his scheme for his players rather than vice versa. And Horn, honestly, like a cover 3 might be a good option for him, because I mean, after 10 yards, like cover 3 just becomes man coverage after a while. So it's like it's not even that bad. I think J.C. Horn will succeed in this defense. But let's talk about, I guess, the secondary a little bit, because they brought in A.J. Boye, and from how it sounded, I was reading a few things, and they brought in A.J. Boye with the mutual understanding that he will be playing the nickel this year. So that, I think that's a bit interesting, because that was kind of my question. It's like, who plays the nickel? Because Boye is not he's never really done a lot of that. He hasn't played a lot in the slot. Maybe Dante Jackson, maybe a guy that's better suited to play in the slot. Like a guy that kind of an athletic freak, but he lacks length to really sustain on the outside, especially if you're playing a lot of press. But I think he's done a solid job at that. So maybe move him to the nickel spot. Because, I mean, I think regardless, Troy Pride Jr. is probably going to end up being the dime cornerback on this roster. But it's interesting. So it sounds like it's going to be Boye, but he does have the 2-game suspension early on. So, like, yeah, at the beginning of the year. So I am assuming maybe Pride takes that nickel spot. They do have Rashawn Melvin, kind of this vet, this journeyman now at this point in his career that can maybe do a couple of spot starts while they wait for Boye to come back. They also bring in Keith Taylor, guy with great length, and I think he's actually a really good scheme fit. But it'll be interesting. I like the cornerback room. I trust Phil Snow, so we'll see. But looking at like where I kind of have where a big hiccup when it comes to this defense is who's playing deep. Like if they go into this cover one look, they still got to have a guy that's patrolling deep. Is Jeremy Chin that guy? I don't really know. Last year he was mainly used in the box and in the slot. They said he's going to play safety a lot more this season. Justin Burris, he's really just a box guy. Like looking at this roster, I think maybe Kenny Robinson's really the only guy that could play deep, but he's going to be buried on that depth chart. Sam Franklin's more of a box guy, so I kind of have my hesitations with that. So I'm kind of curious to see how that all pans out. Regardless, I'm very intrigued. They're going to have a crazy pass rush. So even if there's some hiccups in coverage, like I don't think quarterbacks will have a long time to get the ball out. Brian Burns is establishing himself as one of the top young edge rushers in all of football. Like, dude's an athletic freak, and now he's going to have on the opposite side Hassan Reddick, who's coming off of a banger year. He had like over 50 pressures. I forgot his sack total, but he was good there too. And they kind of list him here at, I think, linebacker, right? Like rush linebacker, I think. Like, they list him at the Sam. He's going to be playing more of an edge role, let's be serious. I think Yatir Gross-Matos is going to be in the rotation. But for the most part, we're going to see more Reddick and Burns. Even Burns, he's kind of raved about how incredible it's going to be opposite of Reddick. So we'll see. On the interior, I think the interior has actually got a good wealth of depth. Good wealth? It's got a heap of depth. Let's go with that. But Derek Brown, I don't like the idea of drafting Derek Brown in the top 10. I was skeptical. You know what I'm trying to say about him being a pass rusher. I knew the ability was there, but I didn't entirely think he was that nimble. You kind of saw that in the 3-cone to be a pass rusher, but it kind of came together during the second half of the season. So without a doubt, yeah, he's one of your starters. I think we're going to see a lot of Daquan Jones, who's been a very solid. He was a solid zero tech there in Tennessee. He's going to get a little more liberty of where he could play on that defensive line. Bravion Roy, I think they mainly bring in for pass rushing downs. He was actually pretty solid at that. People will talk about Davion Nixon. The guy's a developmental guy. We're not going to see a lot of him, so don't be played by that. They also brought in Phil Hoskins as a late rounder. I couldn't really tell you much about him. He wasn't really on my radar in terms of guys to scout out. So he might be a practice squad guy. He was a late rounder, but yeah, this interior I think it looks good, especially with Jones, one of the better run stoppers in all of football. And then you got Roy to come in on passing downs. I really, really like the pass rush they're going to get from the squad. And then going to the linebacking core, Shaq Thompson. The dude's just not built for the run game. He is a coverage linebacker for the most part through and through. They bring in Denzel Perryman, who's kind of this, like now at this point of his career, just kind of a vet journeyman, but he will get the job done. I like that. So yeah, I think they'll hold up well. Like, I think this defense can do very well. I get scared that they're going to get beat deep over the middle. That's just because Jeremy Chin, we didn't see it from him last year. We didn't see him have to do that. He played a lot of roles. He didn't really have to do a lot of that last year. Trey Boston was kind of their guy to kind of like patrol deep. So Jeremy Chin taking that role. He athletically, yes, the man can do it, but I kind of got to see it before I believe it, if you know what I'm saying. But overall, like I think this has the makings of a very good squad. Obviously, I think their weakest part is the offensive line. It's just a bad offensive line. Will they be able to hold up? So let's go ahead to my projected stars, and quick caveat, quick asterisk. When I do projected stars, I do it based on who I think is going to get the most snaps, who's going to see the field the most, not based on or base defenses, stuff like that. I don't care about that. Tell me who's going to be on the field. Who's seeing the field the most? That's what I'm here to do. So going to the offense, I got Sam Darnold, Christian McCaffrey. I have DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, and then I have David Moore there in the slot. We might see bits and pieces of Terrace Marshall, but at least from what I heard from A camps, he isn't expected to have an immediate role, like starting role in this offense. So we might see bits and pieces from him, and I know Joe Brady very familiar with him. They bring in David Moore. I don't think we're gonna see a lot of Marshall just yet. Tommy Tremble, I'm just a huge fan, huge mark of Tremble, and I just think he's better than Ian Thomas and Dan Arnold. Dan Arnold's solid tight end though, like solid tight end too. There we go. And then here's the weak spot, man. Cameron Irvin sounds like he's going to be the left tackle. Pat Elflein, Matt Paredes, John Miller, and then Taylor Moton. This offensive line looks to me one of the worst in football. To be blunt, to be honest. So, yeah, I'm not going to be that high on it. Looking at the defense, Brian Burns, Hassan Reddick. I got Derek Brown. Daquan Jones probably going to be the guy that sees the second most snaps there on the interior. I think Bravion Roy's going to be more of the pass rusher. The dude's a big boy. I loved Roy coming out of the draft. So him to be used in that, because he's like a short, stocky guy. Doesn't exactly have long arms, but he's explosive for his size. So I think him more as a pass rusher is good. I think Jones complements him quite well. And then Perryman, Thompson, and linebacker J.C. Horn, Jackson there on your outside, and then Boye. Again, I'm kind of like I'm basing this on what I read about it, that Boye, he signed his contract with the understanding that the Panthers wanted to use him as their nickel. And then Jeremy Chin and then Burris. Again, that's probably, like, if I was going to talk about outside of the offensive line, who's playing deep, this is kind of the next part there I'm kind of like feel a little bit queasy about. Then you could probably throw Sam Darnold in there. Like, will he really get better? Is obviously a make or break year for him. So, predictions. We're here. We're finally here. How will they do? Well, I got the Panthers going a hot 7-10. I don't think that's bad. I think this squad is still kind of in development. They don't really have like the hardest schedule, probably one of the easier schedules, but they've played in a very tough division. The Falcons are going to play anyone tough. You got to face Super Bowl champs twice a year. And the Saints, I think the Saints will be a competitive team. I think I have them going 2-4 in the division with 2 losses to the Bucks. Then again, you could easily say the Bucks won't need this last game, so like maybe they're 8-9, but I got them going 7-10 for all intents and purposes. Maybe the Bucks already clinch up, but them losing at home, like, come on. But yeah, this is a team. Hey, they're getting better. They're figuring things out. They'll find out this year, is Sam Darnold their guy? Okay, let's move on. Let's find our franchise quarterback. Next year, hey, let's prioritize trying to get the offensive line looking a lot better, because right now it looks like something I would leave in. Well, not leave, but something I would flush. I'll just put it that way. And then can Jeremy Chin kind of be that guy that can cover the middle deep? That's something that's very interesting to me. So yeah, I kind of can't wait for that. Obviously, this is just my opinion. Panther fans, if I got something wrong or something you want to add on, let me know in the comment section below. You're again, I always say this, I feel like I have to say this in every video, but Panther fans, your ears kind of glued a bit more towards your team, so you're probably hearing things that I'm not. Let me know. But I had this team having a hot start. They're 4-1. 5-2. They're 5-2 to start the season, but look at this stretch: Falcons, Patriots, Cardinals, Washington, Dolphins, Falcons again, Bills, Bucks. Like, dude, that honestly, their second half of the season's tough. That's where I have them losing a lot, which is interesting. But yeah, good. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. And that's it for the video. Go ahead and do that YouTube thing. It's always much appreciated, much obliged, and always until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.